So we told you that we will give you some guidance for you to start thinking about where you are. So maybe you can think already now where you think you are with your organization. Are you at level 1? Are you at level 2, 3, 4, or maybe even at level 5? Now, what I'm going to show you are some questions, and they are by all means not, the whole list that would be done through an audit, of course. So this is just to give you a bit of food for thought, so to speak, to assess yourself. So the first question would be, do you have in your organization processes that are really person dependent? Are there things that maybe yourself are very good at, but you've never really written down what the process is like? So if you would leave the organization, then the organization might have a risk, right? Or maybe when you are at the supervisor and management level, do you know of any processes that you know that maybe the team is executing fantastically, but you know that, if that person is not available, you would be, quite stressed because you have no full clue what is happening, right? No limited or yes. Are all your processes documented? That basically comes back a bit to the previous one, but is all your documentation there? Is it all there? Is it limited? Or maybe even no documentation? I hope that is not an answer that you have. Are the processes deployed? Now, you might think this is a funny question because, if you have your processes described, then it's deployed, right? Don't think so. Unfortunately, we have come across situations where when we were dealing with the senior management, that they were convinced that everything was in tip-top shape because they saw those nice binders with all the descriptions and all the processes, etc. But when we went to the engineering level, so to speak, the staff that are dealing with day-to-day operations, sometimes we found that they just didn't follow the process. They thought it was over-engineered, too many checks. If we have to do all those checklists and all the stuff, we can't even do our work anymore. Forget about it, right? So sometimes there is a disconnect between what senior management is thinking is happening and what is actually really happening at the floor level. Have you checked those things? Maybe you did, maybe you didn't, maybe you did it a bit in between. Are the processes measured? Do you measure the effective outcome of your processes? Right? Very important, because a process is there to have management control over a particular flow, but you need to measure the effectiveness as well, right? And maybe you want to tune your process, right? If you do something over and over again, let's say you do a particular check and you do it, 100,000 times a month, and basically the result is always, it's okay. Maybe one time it is not. And even if that one time it is not, then it has no impact on the business. Well, maybe you have to then ask yourself the question, do we still want that check to be done? Because apparently it's always going well. Even if it's not going well, there's no business impact. Maybe you should take that step out and reduce the complexity of a process. Are the processes integrated? Now, that could be that some processes are integrated. It could be that, for example, you have a nice service level management process and it's very well integrated with your monitoring systems. That could be okay. But if service level management is not maybe connected to other parts of the organization, then you could still have a problem, right? And that is where the question comes in, are all your processes fully integrated? Can you think of something that is maybe not so well integrated? And it's very simple to sometimes understand it. Do you sometimes have a fight with somebody? Because typically, if you have a fight with somebody, then there is a conflict of interest. And that sometimes means that there is just no smooth integration between two departments, etc., because they might have different objectives, etc. And then as an organization, that is a challenge. Do you train your staff? And we're not talking about the induction course when somebody is coming to your organization and you tell them all the beautiful things about the organization and how you work, but do you train people on a continuous basis? If a training is ended with a certificate, for example, are those certificates maintained? Unfortunately, we see people sometimes walking around with, expired certificates. So how can we still guarantee that they are, up to the level that, the certificate indicated many years ago? Do you monitor and control the service levels and all the processes? Is it all done around, all the processes that you have, or is it only in a limited fashion? Or do you only do it for certain processes or certain customers? Again, an important question to ask. So maybe what you could do is map it out a little bit like this. Yeah, you can take this table and from those descriptions, those 8 that I indicated, maybe put a tick in the box of where you are. Now, when you do that, you can see where you are, and hopefully you're not at this level, because DCOS level 1, yeah, is where you have almost no control. In my view, you basically run by luck, right? You hope that everything goes okay, but there are many risk areas. Level 3, this is what most organizations, by right must be doing. Anybody who runs a mission critical data center, this is the absolute minimum, really. You could almost say this is roughly at ISO level, but there are things that you could do better. And this will be what we all aspire to, yet very hard to do. So far, from what I recall, there are only 2 organizations in the world at this moment that has achieved this level of operational excellence. So is it doable? Yes, it is, but it might require a bit of work depending on the current level of harmony you have in the organization and the maturity levels of the various processes.